thank my friend, the gentleman from Utah, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes. And, Mr. Speaker, I would ask to be able to use such time as I deem necessary.
Without objection.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the House faces a number of pressing issues that everybody in America knows that we should be addressing. Instead, we are here today on Rule 347, a structured rule, and the underlying bill, H.R. 761, the National Strategic and Critical Minerals Production Act of 2013. I get it that my friends from areas that have these minerals in public spaces would like for us to proceed apace to extract them. I understand their feelings. I come from yet another of the critical areas of our country that we have to protect much of the space, and that would be the Everglades. I don't understand why Congress is trying to provide even more breaks to the United States mining operations when we do have these urgent domestic issues that we are confronted with, and somehow or another that we aren't able to undertake. We haven't done all of our appropriations. We are having difficulty getting a continuing resolution. We will soon be faced with lifting the debt ceiling. And somehow or another, we are dealing with something that, I might add, we have voted on before, that came out of the House of Representatives, that did not pass the Senate, and 761 is not going to pass the Senate either. So 761 guts important environmental protections offered through the National Environment Policy Act, referred to as NEPA. It fails to require adequate financial assurance, and I will have an amendment on the floor that will address that subject, and offers other benefits to mining companies. Mining operations in the United States benefit already from multiple federal tax breaks, exemptions to regulation under existing environmental laws, and no royalty payments to the United States for mining operations, even on U.S. lands. Mining companies limit their liability for environmental restoration and clean up by operating with U.S. subsidiaries to foreign parent companies. This relationship shields the parent company from liability and has allowed parent companies to draw profits from United States mining operations. So what happens when companies do not pay for environmental damage caused by their operations? The people of the United States pay. They pay through a contaminated environment. They pay through sickness, including cancer. They pay through taxes, because taxpayer dollars are ultimately needed to clean up these sites. It would seem that we should have learned from our mistakes with the 1872 General Mining Law. Mining companies should be held accountable so that their operations will not impose additional burdens on the American people. H.R. 761 not only takes away valued natural resources for hiking, fishing, canoeing, and other recreational activities, it shifts the burdens of mining cleanup and restoration to the American taxpayer. Furthermore, H.R. 761 classifies domestic mining operations for strategic and critical minerals on federal lands as infrastructure projects. Using a broad definition that encompasses virtually every type of mine, this legislation allows mines to take advantage of a presidential order from 2012, which requires federal agencies to streamline the permitting process for infrastructure projects. However, building a mine is not the same as building roads and highways that are much needed in this country, or replacing rotted sewerage that is much needed in this country, which is, in fact, the country's infrastructure. Bills like this are why, in my opinion, the American people are so frustrated with us here in the United States Congress. We have a number of issues that we could, no, not that we could, that we should be working on. And yet we are rehashing a bill that went nowhere last Congress, ain't going to go nowhere this Congress, and most importantly, is bad for the nation. Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Picking up from where Mr. Pascrell left off, which I wasn't intended to do until my good friend from Utah mentioned the time frame. We are on tomorrow going to vote on whether or not to cut $40 billion from the supplemental nutrition program for people in this country. And one of the measures included in that is going to be that people can only qualify for 3 months or during a specified period of time if they are able-bodied people. Well, if you vote for the previous question that Mr. Pascrell offered, there may be some jobs for those people. Otherwise, what we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to put more people in a position of needing the food stamps, and we continue to talk about jobs, but we haven't done anything on the infrastructure. And I predict even if this measure before us today were to become law, then, which it is not, but if it did by chance become law, we'd be lucky if in the course of time we had the kinds of jobs and the number of jobs that are desperately needed in this country. What is wrong with this institution? Don't we understand that we have college kids that are graduating and they can't find a job? We hire kids up here at lower than the minimum wage because they can't find jobs in the private sector. This is crazy. We can't continue doing nothing when in fact the people are suffering in this great country of ours. We have the resources, not only the natural resources that my friends would have us extract from even public lands without paying royalties, but we have the resources as a people to do the things creatively to assist us in bringing jobs here rather than sending them all over the world and causing a diminution of jobs here at home. Again, for the life of me, I don't understand why we are considering this bill today. We are considering virtually every mine on public land, including uranium and coal mines, to operate without adherence to federal environmental laws which protect public safety. Our priorities are truly in the wrong place. As I asked before, Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to oppose this rule in the underlying legislation. And, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert in the text of the amendment in the record, along with extraneous material, immediately prior to the vote on the previous question.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to vote no and defeat the previous question. I urge a no vote on the rule, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields.